So today we're going to dive into the Shikshapatri, an ancient text that claims to hold a direct blueprint for finding real, lasting happiness. And it all kicks off with one fundamental question. What is the real source of all happiness? Is it money? Your family? Success? We're all looking for it. But this scripture, it offers a very specific and maybe even an unexpected answer.
And the answer, according to this text, is actually just one single concept, dharma, or righteous conduct. It argues that while we're all busy trying to protect our wealth or our family, the true foundation for all our well-being is upholding this cosmic law of right behavior. Everything else? Yeah, that's all built on top of this one thing.
Okay, but here's the thing. Before we can even start to grasp this wisdom, the scripture sets a surprising condition. You need a focused mind. It argues that a distracted mind literally can't perceive the truth. I mean, think about it. If your mind is a million miles away, you can stare right at something without ever really seeing it. Well, the Shikshapatri says that's exactly what's happening here. Full concentration, it's totally non-negotiable. All right, so once we've got that focused mind, the scripture reveals that living by dharma, well, it isn't just a nice idea, it's a fundamental choice. The text lays out two very, very distinct paths, and each one leads to a profound and really an unavoidable destination. I mean, the stakes here could not be any clearer. You follow the path of righteous conduct, and you're promised great happiness, not just in this life, but in the next one too. But if you ignore it, if you just act on your whims against this principle, the result is great suffering. And get this isn't framed like a maybe or a possibility. It's presented as an absolute certainty. So to make this whole idea of great suffering feel a little less abstract and a bit more real, the scripture gives us this powerful cautionary tale. Let's take a look at the story of a man named Ajamila, who is the perfect example of someone who chose that second path. You see, Ajamila's life was a total, complete rejection of dharma. He just abandoned his duties, he violated every single rule, and he lived a life that was just defined by sin, without ever once trying to make up for it. And so when his time came, he had to face the terrifying consequences. The messengers of death showed up to take him to judgment for the great suffering he had earned. His story is basically the living, breathing example of that warning we just looked at. Okay, so if following dharma is the key to happiness, then what's the most important part of it? The highest principle? Well, the scripture reveals one supreme law that holds everything else up, the principle of nonviolence. Well, that supreme law is known as ahimsa, or nonviolence. And this isn't just another rule on a long list. It is the highest dharma. It's treated as a universal truth, something you see echoed across all the sacred texts. The message is crystal clear. If you're on the path of dharma, you have to start with ahimsa.
And wow, the way they define nonviolence here it's absolutely uncompromising. It's not just about not hurting people or big animals. It explicitly says you can't intentionally harm any living creature, right down to the smallest insect. And here's the crucial part. If you cause harm by accident, well, that can be atoned for. But if you do it knowingly, well, the text warns that those consequences, there's just no escaping them.
And this commitment to ahimsa is so strong that the text actually reinterprets some rituals that seem, violent. For instance, some rites call for the sacrifice of an aja, which is usually translated as goat. But the Shikshapatri offers this deeper, nonviolent meaning. Aja can also refer to old rice grains that can't sprout anymore. It's this incredible reframing that argues that the true spirit of Scripture has to be nonviolent. And to really hammer this point home, the text gives us another story, this time about a king who was actually famous for how pious he was and for performing countless sacrifices, all of which involved violence. So the sage Narada pays the king a visit and gives him this just absolutely chilling vision of his future. He literally shows the king the souls of all the animals he had sacrificed, waiting for him in the afterlife, not with gratitude, but with rage. They were just waiting to get their revenge. And after seeing this terrifying karmic bill coming due, the king was horrified. He immediately renounced all violent practices. Forever. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Ahimsa doesn't just apply to the person who actually commits the violent act. The scripture radically expands who's responsible, and it identifies 7 types of people who are complicit, from the person who brings the animal to the one who butchers it, sells the meat, buys it, cooks it, and even the person who finally eats it. Every single one of them is considered a participant in that violence. So let's just do a quick recap of what we've covered. First off, the root of all real happiness is dharma, or righteous living. To even understand this path, we need a focused mind. And remember, every choice we make is leading us down one of two paths, one to great happiness or one to great suffering. And finally, the highest, most fundamental part of dharma is ahimsa, absolute, intentional nonviolence toward every living being.
And that's really what this ancient text leaves us with. It's this incredibly powerful question that feels really, really modern. If we accept the idea that all life is sacred and that our own happiness is directly tied to a principle of not causing harm, then how does that change the choices we make minute by minute every single day?